It's just like a warm hug of a book. And I was just like crying. Did it feel a little fan servicey? Yeah. Did I care? No. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Joshana here to talk about some of the books I loved in 2025. My favorites, my almost faves. As per usual, my actual highest rated, there's a lot of rereads on there. So I did filter it down to the 4.75 and 5-star ratings I gave for books that were not rereads, okay? And there are 8. I will also get into honorable mentions, though. The 4.5-star ratings I gave for books that I had not read before. So let's start with those. The honorable mentions. These are books that I would say were favorites of the year, for sure, but just kind of a little shy of being like screaming from the rooftop. Although a lot of them I still feel like kind of screaming from the rooftops about. The first one, and these are in no particular order, these are all ones that I gave technically 4.5 stars to. The Seventh Veil of Salome by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I read this in March and I very hesitantly picked it up because Silvia Moreno Garcia, I have not had a lot of wins with. I have picked up, that one, Hold Please. What is that fucking book? I tried The Beautiful Ones several years ago and I DNF'd it. Signal to Noise, I think that's the name of it. And I wanna say I DNF'd that also. Yep, I DNF'd that. I'm still curious about Certain Dark Things, but I just don't know. I've just been so hesitant. But now I might be less hesitant because I did really like Gods of Jade and Shadow. And that one was I did read that one and it was just like middle of the road for me. I was so hyped for it because everyone was like, it's amazing. And then I read it and I was like, I don't know, I thought it was just fine. So I was very hesitant, but this one is historical fiction. And I just tend to vibe with historical fiction. And the description of it too, it was like old Hollywood, whatever. And I was like, this like setting and setup sounds like it's up my alley. And I'm so glad I did pick it up because I really liked it. It's one I've debated buying a copy of because I'm like, I maybe could see myself rereading it. I don't know. I didn't love the ending, like how things ended, but I had a really fun time. And then in May, I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. This, I was just getting back into reading more just general fiction and lit fic this year. And this is one that just was popping up. And I mean, it was published in like, what, 1996 or something? I don't know, 1992. It was published a good long while ago, but it was having a resurgence I was seeing. And I was just curious, I don't know, and I grabbed it. And I think I listened to the audiobook, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, I really liked it. It's one that I'm surprised I liked because it's so existential kind of, and it gives you no answers. It gives you so many questions. It's like a sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, maybe? You just are with this girl who's only known as the child, who's living in a fucking prison cell with these other women. It's like 40 women or around that number. All the rest are like, they were grown women when they were like taken. And they remember their lives before. But this girl was like a small child when she was brought, and she's the only child. And it's just fascinating. That's all I really can say. I don't want to give any spoilers or anything. It is very, very fascinating and very thought-provoking. I did buy a physical copy of it, and I want to reread it soon. And then The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. I read that in July. And yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. It's horror, historical, and definitely had moments with the pacing that I didn't love. That was like a little slow. Like, okay, all right. Particularly in the beginning. But I just loved everything it was doing thematically and the atmospheric, almost like gothic atmospheric vibes I was getting from it. And there's some just truly heartbreaking shit in this book. Yeah, and it's dealing, I don't want to say too much again. I mean, I'm sure everyone's heard about this book. We're following this Native American man and this white preacher, this priest, whatever. And their stories intertwining in a very interesting way. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm so scared kind of horror. There's one scene that it was like, holy shit, that's terrifying. And seeing it in a movie or something, it would be very unnerving and very like, oh God. But just, yeah, I don't know how, I don't want to get too into it and do like a whole review of it, but I've talked about it a fair amount. It was just really good. It was just really, really well done. And it was my first Stephen Graham Jones that I ever picked up. Also in July, I picked up Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna von Veen. And again, horror vibes, vampiric vibes. That one though, Blood on Her Tongue, it's not necessarily what you think. I personally wouldn't like recommend it to people as just a straight up vampire story. I would say it's vampiric in nature, I guess. I don't know. It's a take on vampiric creatures, I suppose. And this one is very like gothic. Joanna von Veen does this like creepy, atmospheric, gothic, horror-leaning body horror. Oh God, absolutely just uncomfy, unnerving, grotesque, in the best way, body horror. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't love the earlier work of hers that I then went and read, My Darling Dreadful Thing. I liked it, but I wasn't as enamored with it, but I'm very excited to read the book she has coming out this year. And then yet another horror. I was on a kick this year picking up horror. The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I read The Good House first, and I liked it. It was like more than middle of the road, I think, but I had qualms with it overall. The Reformatory, I think, was just more my taste. It was just like historical fiction set in the 1950s, and it definitely had horror vibes, but much more subtle, I think I would say. It has like Sixth Sense stuff going on. I see dead people stuff going on. But you had a mix because you're following two characters, this brother and sister, and the sister is like in the world, like trying to get her brother out of this reformatory, out of this like school to be punished because it's not a good place to fucking be. So we're dealing with like her in like the real world, like real life stuff, seeing the horrors of the Jim Crow South, seeing the horrors of racism in the very real world and the horrors of our fucking justice system in real life. And then the brother is at this reformatory dealing with seeing dead people and being manipulated and this absolutely vile man running this school. And the way that Tananarive Due did this book, it was hard to read several times. There were actually a couple points where I like read a sentence and just had to stop for a second and just, whew, okay. And like, kind of like tell myself, don't think about it too much. Like, don't imagine it. Don't imagine it. Don't imagine what was just described. Like oh my God, like just horrifying. Because it's stuff that happens to people. It's stuff that happens to children. And she didn't go into detail. She didn't have to go into detail. There was one time where there was one sentence that was like even just detail. The rest of it was all just like alluding to, and that was enough. And that one like sentence or two of like a little bit of detail, I was like, I'm good. Let's not do that again. And she didn't. It was very, very subtle, but because she didn't need to give you a lot of detail for it to be just horrifying. She did it so well. Definitely difficult to read. Go into it prepared, mentally and emotionally prepared, and check content warnings. I will say though, there's nothing like crazy explicit or graphic because she doesn't need to. And then the last one for the honorable mentions is one that I just read in December, and that is The Blackfire Blade by James Logan, the sequel to The Silver Blood Promise. This is adult fantasy, and yeah, I just really like it. I really liked the first book. I just think it's fun. And it was surprising to me that I found it so fun because it's just like hijinks and shenanigans and like, we gotta go do this. Now we gotta go do this. And it's just like they have this one major goal. And then like to get from point A to point B, we go like here and there and everywhere. And I just had a good time with it. I like our main characters. And in the sequel, it's like I liked them even more. They are flawed. The main character, Lucan, to me, he's an idiot. And I see some reviews where people are like, he's frustrating because he's so stupid and like he drives me nuts. That's usually how I would feel. But for some reason, I find him to be a very lovable idiot. Like, yeah, he's kind of fucking stupid, but I like him. He's fun and he's charming. And just the little found family that we have in this series and that got developed even further in the second book, I just love it. There's emotional moments. There's like cool hero moments. And there's lore in this world, like history and lore of this world, which you know I love, that I find so fascinating. We learned more about it in the second book, and I can't wait for the third book. Okay, now getting into the top 8. I'm thinking I don't currently have them in order. They're just in order of when I read them. There's 4 5-stars, and there's 4 4.75. So starting with the 4.75s, we have number 8, Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. I read this in March. I read it, I think, right after it came out. And like, I mean, is anyone shocked? Maybe, because I didn't love Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but that was for a very specific reason. 2 reasons, really. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, the writing was bad or something. But Sunrise on the Reaping, I fucking loved it, man. I mean, did it feel a little fan servicey? Yeah. Did I care? No. It was fun and tragic and oh my God. And I cried and I cannot wait for the fucking movie. Oh my God. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be excited about a Hunger Games movie again because I've seen Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I didn't love the casting of, what's her face? Rachel Ziegler. I don't know. I didn't love it. So I'm very excited for Sunrise on the Reaping though. And then number 7, we have Shark Heart by Emily Habak. This one I picked up because a booktuber that I watch, Lexi aka Newly Nova is her channel name. She read this and was like gushing about it. And again, I was getting back into reading more like general fiction, literary fiction, and wanted to try those kinds of books out. And her description of this, I was just like, okay. And like, it's kind of weird. And the format, like the way the story is told, it's not like in traditional like full chapters. Like there's like some chapters are like 2 sentences. Some chapters are like 1.5 pages. Some chapters are like 5 pages. And then another chapter will be like 3 paragraphs and so on and so forth. It's kind of like little vignettes telling this story. And it's our world, but there's like magical realism, I guess, because it's our world, except in this version of our world, there is like a genetic mutation that happens. Some people are born with this, where they at some point in their life turn into an animal. And it's kind of common. It's like a fairly common like genetic mutation. However, it's rare to have it where you turn into a shark. And this couple, they're newly married and in love, and the husband gets the diagnosis that he's going to turn into a shark. And it sounds goofy, but it is not. It is heart-aching and heart-wrenching. And I mean, it's really looking at, dealing with terminal illnesses and diagnoses and like what that does to a family and what that does to people and like the grief, coping with the grief, trying to like prepare for the grief and all of that. And it was a lovely, lovely story. I bought a physical copy. And then another fantasy, Sorrow of the Sea by Stephen Arion. I really, really enjoyed this finale to this series. I thoroughly enjoyed the series. The first book was honestly my least favorite. I still really liked it, but of the 3, that one was my least favorite because we didn't really get into the fantasy stuff until towards the end. Most of the first book was much more like military, historical fiction, I guess, which I didn't dislike, but it just wasn't as to my taste. But then by the end of it, I was like, wait a minute here. And there's a trope that I fucking love that we have in this series of like somehow immortal or immortal-ish beings meddling in human affairs over centuries or millennia. I fucking love that shit. Oh my God. And yeah, we definitely had that through the rest of the series. And I just thought it was a really solid finale. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then The top one in the 4.75s, Birth of a Dynasty by Chinaza Bado. Talked about this book a fair amount. It's adult fantasy. However, we're following children for this whole first book. They start off like around like 8-ish years old or something like that. And then we jump ahead a few years. So they're like around 12 or 13 or something. And it's a boy and a girl. And it's this like African-inspired fantasy world, epic fantasy, high fantasy. We have giants and female warrior like tribe and these different houses within this world vying for power, etc. And there's a prophecy of like 2 of these houses and things ensue. And I had such a fun time with this. And I need book 2 to come out this year. I've not seen anything about it, but I desperately need book 2 as soon as possible. And more people need to pick this up. Everyone I have seen pick it up has loved it. So, not everyone is going to love it, but chances are pretty high that if you're a fantasy reader, you're probably going to have a fun time with this book. I thought like the court politics was so good. Just the fantasy elements were so good. The character development was really great. Getting into the 5-star reads, putting these in order, I will say The Keeper of Magical Things by Julie Leong. This one is just, like, these books are just so cute. The first one was A Teller of Small Fortunes, and this one is in the same world, but it's not following the same characters at all. There's not even really, like, a crossover of the characters. You can see, like, the influence of the characters in the first book in this second book. As far as what the characters in the second book are doing, it's due to the actions of the first book. But yeah, it's just so fucking cute. It's cozy fantasy. It's adorable. Like, if you just want like a cozy, wholesome fantasy time, but that does have like some deeper things going on, and like we're talking about some deeper things and dealing with some deeper things. Nothing crazy though, but like it's not all just like fluff and surface level. We do have some thematic stuff we're wading through, and it's just done really well, and it's just like so fucking cute. I just love the characters, and you just like want to give them a hug. It's just like a warm hug of a book. Then we have Monstrous Volume 8, Inferno by Marjorie Liu. This just opened up this world. And this, again, Monstrous is a graphic novel series. It's like sci, fantasy, horror, whatever. And it's so good. Fucking pick it up. But yeah, what happened in this one and like the way it opened up the world was fantastic and so fun and cool and confusing, but cool. So yeah, really, really, really enjoyed Volume 8. And then we have Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. Randomly picked this up from the library. This is a book that I had like seen before. Like I've seen it around places, but I had no idea what it was actually about. And no one I know personally had like read it and talked about it to me. So I had like no idea what it was about. I've just seen the cover before. Grabbed it from the library, picked it up, fucking loved it. It's shorter and the premise sounds crazy. It's also like literary fiction, kind of magical realism. This girl went to like prep school when she was younger, but then she got kicked out and she's like poor from living in poverty. And when she was at prep school though, she became friends with her roommate, best friends with her, and she comes from money. Have not seen each other, talk to each other really in years. They do write letters to each other like a couple times a year, but that's it. And then the rich girl, she went off and got married, and she calls the other girl being like, hey, can you come like be a nanny for me? I married this man. He has these 2 kids that are like kind of troubled. I need help. So she's like, yeah, sure. And I'll pay you, whatever. So she goes. And the way these kids are troubled is that they spontaneously combust. They just catch on fire when they get like agitated or upset or like excited. And you're just like hanging out with her as she's like figuring this out and trying to deal with this and trying to like figure out what to do with these kids. And it is so fucking hilarious, but also so touching and heartwarming at the same time. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, bought a physical copy. Definitely will be rereading this book probably this year. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a very surprising book in the best way. New favorite of all time. And then the number one favorite book of the year for me, drumroll please, can you guess? If you watch my videos semi-frequently, you probably can guess. I read it back in August, my birthday month, and that is The Names by Florence Knapp. I still, like, I just don't have the words for how much I loved this book. It is such a cool premise. You're following a woman who in the prologue, she has just given birth. It's like a storm or something. She gave birth at home, and then a few days later, she needs to go like register. She's from like, I think London, England at any rate. She has to go like register her son and like his birth or whatever. And her husband is wildly abusive. And he's like, you're going to name him after me. I'm named after my father. He's named after his father. My son will be named after me. They have a daughter who's like 8 or 9 or something. The woman wants to name the child something else. She does not want to give her son that name. She feels it's very important to like choosing a name for a child, and she just does not want to like burden her son with the name of this domineering ass man. And then her daughter thinks it'd be fun to name him something silly, right? So they go to register, and then the rest of the book is like 7 years later. There's a chapter if they went with what the daughter wanted to name him, Bear. There is a chapter following of if they went with what the mom wanted to name him, which was Julian, I believe, or what the dad wanted him to be named, which was Gordon. And then so there's those 3 chapters, and then the next section, 7 years later, Bear, Julian, Gordon. So you're watching this kid grow up in 3 different versions of his life, and like what the choice of naming him each different thing meant for the family, how the father reacted, what happened afterward, how the mother felt, what it prompted her to do or not do. And it's very emotional. I legitimately, I'm feeling myself get emotional right now just thinking about it. There is abuse on page. It can be difficult. I found it to be not like too triggering or difficult for me personally. At this point where I am now in my healing from experiencing that myself. Throughout the entire book, you see like the mental abuse and control pretty wildly on display. The paranoia, the jealousy, the controlling her finances, controlling everything. And there are a couple of scenes of violent physical abuse as well. That's not like frequent throughout the entire book, but there are a couple of scenes, and like 2 of them at least that I can remember are they're graphic, and it's pretty violent. So definitely heads up for that. If that is something that you can't really handle, I would not recommend this book to you at this time if you're in a headspace or you're just like, nope, can't do it. But yeah, I just thought it was so well done. And I read it in like one day. I could not fucking stop reading this book. I read the first like 20 pages or something one night, and then the next day I sat down and I could not stop. And I'm not kidding. I was fully crying for the last like 75 pages of the book. Around like with like a little over 100 pages left, I felt myself starting to get choked up, even though like nothing was happening at that point to make me sad. It was just the writing. I found it so evocative, and it just resonated with me so well. And then stuff started happening. If you've read it, you know. And I was just like crying. But like sometimes because it was sad and just like heartbreaking, but then it was like simultaneously just beautiful and just such a beautiful depiction of like our choices in life and how like life is just a fucking random thing. And that's what I believe and how I feel. Like the shit that happens to us is random as shit. We can make choices for sure. We don't know what those choices are going to result in though, and how they're going to affect everyone else around us. And like you have to pivot, and then this happens and then that happens. And sometimes things happen to you and you don't have a choice. And what do you do with that, you know? And it was just, I just thought it was beautiful. So definitely favorite book of the year. New favorite book of all time. I want to reread it immediately. I've been wanting to reread it since I finished it. I probably will reread it soon because I'm just like itching to. I cannot recommend it enough. Again, unless the content warnings you can't handle it. I am someone who's been through it, and it was okay for me, but I do know some other people who have been through that and who were like, it was too much. So definitely your mileage may vary, and I really hope this author publishes more very soon, because I will definitely check it out, and fingers crossed we have an auto-buy author on our hands. And there we have it. There's my honorable mentions and my faves of the year, and a couple of new like all-time faves. Hopefully you had several new faves. Let me know if you did, or if you had kind of a mid-year, but usually we at least have like one or two hits, you know? Hopefully more though, let me know. And if you have read any of the ones that I have on my list, did you also love them? Were you completely opposite? Did you hate it? Did you DNF? You can also just leave a little emoji if you want to say hi. Let me know that you watched. Always appreciated. As always, thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.